Good day traders, welcome to this week's Market Fix. My name is John Jacobs for RMDTRADER, here to present you with this week's price predictions and chart analysis of all our favorite market instruments. In this week's video, we are looking at whether we can expect a breakout or a pullback in the crypto markets, a short opportunity on the AUDUSD and a breakout on the USDJPY, and finally a massive inverted head and shoulders currently playing out in USDZAR. Here we have just a brief look at our statement before we will be jumping right in. This week we will be starting by looking at our cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin has made a very nice little pullback from the recent lows, and if we look at our linear regression channel that we have drawn from that previous all-time high at 65,000 to our most recent low, we can see that we now are at the top of that channel. If we do see a breakout, I would ideally want to see price break above the monthly pivot, currently sitting at about 34,900, or we can just make that 35,000. Just looking at Ethereum as well, we can see that Ethereum has also now retraced back to the top of that diagonal resistance and also major horizontal resistance. If we look at that level over there, we can see this is definitely an area where we've previously found some support and previously also, or most recently rather, found some resistance. In terms of a breakout, if we do continue to see price action to the upside, and if we break through our monthly pivot, that monthly pivot, weekly R1, both sitting between 2,300 to 2,350, a break above that could see price move higher towards a resistance in this area of the daily 100 SMA, close to 2,500 to about 2,600. Looking at gold, gold has now started its pullback into this support zone that we've identified in this red color. Also, where we have our daily 100 SMA currently, very good level of support. So as soon as we can get some bullish price action, and especially a daily close perhaps above that monthly pivot at 1,800, that would be very bullish. In the interim, it might be possible that we see price continue to move slightly lower still, perhaps looking for some support in the vicinity of our weekly S1, somewhere between 1,780 to 1,790. In the event where we do break above that monthly pivot level, I suspect we'll see a very nice move to the upside, with price slowly climbing higher towards levels of resistance in the vicinity of about 1,800 to 1,860, as that is where we had previous resistance. So I'll just point that out for you guys over there. And we can move that zone up slightly. So you can see that's previously where we had some support, and that level then failed, meaning the first bullish price action will probably find some resistance from that level as well. Looking at our indices, the DAX has last week tested the daily 100 SMA. It has successfully defended that level, with price action then resuming to the upside. Currently en route to testing that yearly R1 pivot again, also very strong resistance if we look over the past couple of weeks. However, if it can overcome this level, I suspect we'll see a move much higher, probably towards that level at about 16,000 to 16,100. If it does fail, I suspect we will continue with consolidation in the range of our yearly R1 at 15.7 with support provided by this diagonal in the daily 100 SMA in the vicinity of about 15,300. So that means price can continue within this range until it eventually breaks out either to the upside or to the downside. Looking at the Dow is also still defending that daily 100 SMA. As we can see, last week we had a very strong reaction, bullish reaction on that level. Price currently trading above that yearly R1, very similar to what we saw in the DAX, although it is still facing strong resistance from this level where it's currently trading. I suspect that if we can breach the 35,250 level, there might be a chance that we see price continue higher towards those weekly pivot levels of about 35.5 to 35.9. However, I would be very cautious at this price level, as there is still a good chance that we find some sellers stepping in and guys taking profit, and that will then push price back towards support, and that will probably be for this week in the vicinity of 34,600, where we have our weekly pivot. Looking at the NASDAQ also very strong price action last week, with most of the candles closing very near the highs. Currently, price is trading above the yearly R1, having breached it quite easily. There is, of course, that chance that it will pull back, retesting that breakout, and that's sitting at 15,000, also a very psychological, important level. If it continues to move higher, I suspect we will see levels of 15.1, which is the high from last week, and if it continues higher, we have very strong resistance from the monthly R2, weekly R1 at 15,340 to 15,350. Looking now at our Forex, USDJPY has also broken from the recent broken higher from this recent pullback that we've seen. Seeing bullish price action from that daily 100 SMA, the dotted line that we see here in blue, also that very important horizontal level at 109.8. So that has been acting as support, and will be support going forward. At this stage, I suspect we will probably see price making its way higher towards that upper end of previous resistance at 111.5 up to 5.6, with support provided by our weekly pivot at 110.05, back towards that area of 109.75. So that would be our area of support. I'll just draw that in quickly for you guys so you can see where we can expect support to be. I'll make that red for you guys like that. Okay, so this is where I'm expecting support to be, and I expect price to move higher. As long as it stays above that monthly pivot, I do expect price to start making its way higher toward the upper end of that range. Looking at the Australian dollar USD, still in this downtrend that has probably been set in motion by this very large head and shoulders pattern, with a target somewhere in the vicinity of 0.723. Currently, we can see that we are trading below a very important level, and that level is the level that we have here at 0.740. So that area has now become resistance, as we can see from Friday's price action from that monthly S1, meaning there is a very good chance that we will see price continuing to move lower towards that target area at 0.723. Of course, if it can break above resistance that is currently at that level, 0.741, there's a chance that it might recover towards the upper end of that weekly pivot spectrum at the weekly R3, 0.752. Looking at the GBPNZD, also still a very big head and shoulders pattern that we are looking at and considering very closely. Struggling to break above the yearly pivot at 1.977. However, if it can break above that level, I still expect we move higher in line with this inverted head and shoulders pattern. Initial resistance will be found from that level that we have previously struggled to break through, and that's 1.995. However, if it does break below, I'd say the level where it's actually closed on Friday, it's possible it will move lower towards support from the daily 100 SMA 1.955, and a break below that will see it move lower towards support from the daily 200 SMA at 1.934. Looking at GBPUSD, the GBPUSD has also made what appears to be some form of complex head and shoulders. Currently trading in a resistance zone, previous support, currently resistance, and just trading slightly above the daily 200 moving average, coinciding with the weekly pivot, meaning that is a very important level. So as long as we stay above this level, there's a chance to be might correct a bit higher towards somewhere between that weekly R1 or even as high as the daily 100 SMA at 1.391. However, if it does break below the weekly pivot at 1.369, I do suspect we will see a move much lower towards this important level of support, also a 50% Fibonacci retracement level at 1.343. Looking at the EURUSD, we expect something similar. However, what we do see on the EURUSD is something that resembles a falling wedge. Typically, it's expected that a falling wedge breaks to the upside. However, there is no guarantee for that to happen. So as long as it stays below that, I'd say, diagonal, and just to be more conservative, we can change that slightly to be somewhere like that. So as long as it stays below that diagonal resistance, it will likely continue to move lower towards this failed head and shoulder inverted head and shoulders pattern, much lower at 1.511. That pattern and that level probably will take a couple of days, weeks rather, to play out. So in the meantime, I probably expect prices to move slightly or conservatively down in this range, with initial support, I'd say, at the monthly S1, 1.171. But if we do see a break above this wedge, with a break especially above the weekly R1 at 1.181, there's a chance that we will then start seeing this price action moving higher. Also, very strong resistance from that level at 1.187. Finally, concluding with the USDZAR, a very nice trade that we've been on for a couple of weeks now, and we currently have this inverted head and shoulders that is in play, and that has been an excellent setup. And as we can see, that once price broke out of that setup, we had a retest of that breakout level, and price currently continuing higher towards that inverted head and shoulders target that is all the way up somewhere close to 15.50. Currently, we can see price has just broken through the 200 daily moving average, with the weekly pivot just below that at 14.70, meaning there is a chance the price might come back, find some support from that 14.70 level, a weekly pivot. But as long as it stays above that, it will make its way higher towards the next target, which is a very important psychological level of resistance at 15. If it breaks that level at some point, I will then expect it to start moving slightly towards the next target levels. That's a wrap. We hope you enjoyed this week's video. Please remember to support our channel by subscribing. And until next time, trade smart and trade successful.